This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. And for the first time in what does seem like quite a while, I'm delighted to be joined by Adam Smith of Sky Sports Boxing over Zoom. Adam, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Andy. Yeah, very good indeed. Obviously, so delighted that we're back doing what we love. Fight Camp 1 was a tremendous success on Saturday night. We're right in the heart of it. I'm in the bubble, ready for Fight Camp 2 on Friday. Obviously, 2 more. So it's a great August, isn't it? It's a fantastic time for fighters to be out again under the lights. It's an innovative, incredible setting that Eddie's designed and that Matchroom and Sky have put together. And look, it's never going to replicate the amazing nights that we have with crowds and with the buzz and atmosphere of people and fans, and we love it all. That's what makes it such a compelling sport in many ways. That so many crowds sort of turn up, and so many people are intrigued about what actually happens in the ring. And obviously, we're not going to replicate that, but we've got boxing back. It's the next best thing, and it's a beautiful, picturesque, garden, Eddie's lawn, and a fantastic sort of canopy, and the drones and the fireworks and the pyros and everything from last Saturday. I don't know if you agree, but I thought looked spectacular. And I've always said to Eddie, look, it's all about the fights, and it's about the fights living up. No easy fights, and every fight was really interesting and good on Saturday. In fact, they got better and better, and I think they saved the best round till last with the egg and the cheese. And look, it was fantastic. And so we're really pleased to be back. I've been watching Frank's shows on BT. It's great they're back as well in the studio. But Eddie was always going to come up with something different, wasn't he? And the garden is a great. I think it's a great look. I think a lot of people have sort of called me or reached out and said that that's incredible that you've tried something out with all this, the difficulties of the pandemic. And obviously there's health and safety to consider first and foremost. And that's why, we're all in the bubble and being tested. I was tested yesterday. Everybody was fine. And then they could be released into the sort of media week and around the fighters. And, it's everyone's sort of in the same boat. So it's fun. It's exciting. It's a new adventure. And it's just great boxing's back for everybody out there, because I know we've all missed it.
Just before we do come on to kind of the shows from last week and this week coming up, you mentioned yourself and the team are in the bubble now. How have you found kind of that experience, and how do you intend on trying to make the most of what are unusual circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, it's I've got 3 kids, Andy, as you know. It's always pretty manic in my house, and we've had building work through lockdowns. So it's all been a bit crazy, and actually to get a little bit of peace in a room for a few hours of isolating wasn't really peace. Actually, I ended up doing quite a lot of work and talking to the family and talking to friends and stuff. So it actually went by pretty quickly, but we had to isolate for, a certain period of time. It was, I think, 17, 18 hours until we got the test results. So, that was important. We abide by the rules and the regs, and we make do. You and I know that, we've traveled everywhere in boxing, and, we've been to all sorts of places, and, now we're in another different environment. It's a place where we're together for a few days up to a fight. In many ways, it's like a big fight experience, because everyone's here together. Everybody's doing the media, and we've got the press conference tomorrow, then the weigh-in, and it's great. We're all sort of under one roof, and there's some outside space, and everybody seems to be getting on pretty well with each other. I mean, I was quite intrigued about the trainers this week. I mean, the fighters, there's some great fighters on the bill. We've got a fantastic top of the bill, obviously, two incredible women in Terry Harper and Natasha Jonas, and 2 British women fighting for a world title for the first time. So a bit of history on Friday night, and really excited about that. And all the others on the bill, some terrific bouts and some great fights, great names. But I'm also interested in the sort of the trainer pop this week, because if you look pretty closely at sort of, who's actually in which corner. And I turned up, and, I think bar Adam Booth and 1 or 2 others, there's every single sort of top trainer in Britain within the 4 walls this week. You've got Dave Colwell, you've got Jamie Moore, you've got Shane McGuigan, you've got Joe Gallagher, you've got Steffi Bull. It's a right mix. It's fantastic to have Gary Lockett as well. I was talking to earlier, great trainer from Wales. It's really good to have that sort of caliber in here. And of course, there's a lot of backstories there. Some fighters were with some and they've moved to others. I'm thinking Anthony Fowler's gone from Dave to Shane. And then, of course, Jamie Moore has Carl Frampton, who was with Shane, and Joe Gallagher's got it's a melting pot, isn't it? And we all love the sport, and we all have our job to do this week. But it's some interesting side stories, I think, as well. Actually, I saw Dave Colwell and Darren Barker just playing a bit of football outside. There's a bit of outside space. Everyone's social distancing. You've got the masks on around the hotel, so it's important that we adhere to that and make sure that it's as safe as it can be. But it's a different experience, but I relish those, Andy. So I'm excited, and the most important thing is we've got great fights on Friday night, and then Friday the week after, and then obviously the big Sky Sports box office show on August the 22nd. So it all builds up to a great finale, and I think if it's as good or even better than on Saturday, we're in for another treat.
Let's start with this past weekend before we come on to this coming week. Obviously, a brilliant all-British affair between Sam Eggington and Ted Cheeseman on this past Saturday night. Very, very close fight. But Adam, just sum it up for me. What did you make of their action-packed thriller?
That's exactly what it was. It was a throwback fight, wasn't it? Two gladiators, warriors, two guys who always give us good value. It's amazing to think they're only 24 and 26, but I think Eddie played on the egg and the cheese as a little bit of a promotional tool, but actually they mixed together brilliantly, didn't they? And I think we all hoped they would, and we all felt they would, but actually to see it actually happen, and with no crowd, they were both so determined for the victory, and I think both of them in many ways needed it. So I think it was always going to be a close fight. I mean, my colleague Matt Macklin was split all the way through the build-up. He was going for Cheeseman, too big, then actually Eggington, slightly better. There's all these experience, so much in the pot. And I think it was the perfect, headliner. It really was. I thought it was a very close fight. I thought Ted deserved the nod at the end, and I think he's had a bit of a bit of an unlucky run, hasn't he? He had the devastating defeat with Sergio Garcia. Really painful night that was. Then he got the draw against Kieran Conway. Many thought he probably should have won that, and then he had the fight with Scott Fitzgerald, which he lost. Which again, people thought either he won or certainly he was better. It's in stylistically than he'd been in a long time, and I think he's had out of the ring issues, and I think he really needed that victory, and probably of the two of them, he might have needed it that little bit more. And so, look, there's little compassion, isn't there, in this sport? What happens, it's brutal. What happens, and the judges make their decision. And it was down to the three judges, and they all gave it to Cheeseman. I thought by one round was probably right, and I can see a case for Sam being disappointed. Jon Pegg, they gave it absolutely everything. They might have thought they nicked it or won by a couple of rounds. So I've got no problem really with the decision, and a rematch would be absolutely fantastic. I wonder if now Ted's got that sort of lofty ranking, that little title now, whether they'll go a slightly different route, but we'd love to see it down the line. I just thought it was great. They gave everything for 12 rounds. They've accepted that they're going to be riskier fights coming out of lockdown. They took the challenge. They both went for it. They're impeccable professionals. They're a joy to be around. They gave us 12 rounds of fantastic, fighting trench warfare, and then at the end of it they hugged each other I don't know how many times, and then they obviously stood at social distance in the interview, which is the guidelines, but they kept hugging each other, and it was it was fantastic to see. And I'm sure Sam goes home a very upset fighter and an upset team, but he's been there before. He knows how to pick himself up. He'll be back, and Ted gets the win, and I think probably a win he needed for his whole life, actually. So it was a great finale, wasn't it? And as for the 12th round, one of the great rounds we've seen in recent times. So thrilled with that, and it was the perfect way to finish. But the right headliner looked amazing, and just huge respect to both of the fighters, and they both deserve the applause, even though there was only one winner.
Just two things to touch on with the fight. Firstly, you mentioned the possible rematch down the line. When do you think it may be that we could see that, if at all?
I think that, it was a hard fight. And I think that, as I said, I think Ted probably, now he's got the victory, he might be less keen to go back in than Sam is to get the rematch. So it's a bit like the Fowler-Fitzgerald fight, isn't it? That Anthony is so determined to have that rematch with Scott Fitzgerald. I think Shane McGuigan's calmed him down a little bit about that. You can go different routes in boxing. You don't have to sort of go over old ground. Amir Khan never, he's lost fights. He never had to go back into fights that, he was, that he'd lost. You don't have to rematch. And, although sometimes it's burning inside, Matt Macklin lost to Andrew Facey very early in his career. And, you just sort of get on with it and just sort of rebuild in different ways. So it's how you feel. And I think that Sam will really want the rematch. But look, he's always going to be in good fights. He's always going to. I just don't want to see him, become a fighter who's almost like a stepping stone for the young prospects. I want to see him in big fights still, Sam, because I think he's got plenty there, even at just the young age of 26, really. As for Ted, I think maybe, as I said, they'll go maybe a slightly different route. Possibly fight Patera or someone, I don't know. But I think that could happen. I think the fans would love it. We'd love it. But I just wonder whether it just needs a little time, maybe a big title on the line before it could happen again. It's an amazing division, isn't it? Fitzgerald and Fowler and these guys, it's great. You could have a merry-go-round, but you've got to remember as well, these are hard fights. And when you have those, it's you've got to rest up again. And, they've just had lockdown, they've had time out, and they've gone and delivered that. You can see afterwards, they both need a rest. They both need to recharge. They'll both be back. They're both great fighters.
The other thing I want to touch on with a fight is I spoke to Jon Pegg the day after the bout, and one thing John wasn't happy about was he said that he felt the commentary was biased towards Ted and that he could hear it from where you guys were placed up until where he was by ringside. I'm sure you've seen, obviously, John's been vocal over social media. He's certainly engaged with a lot of people who have kind of favoured Sam, thinking that he should have had the nod. It was a close fight, so I'm not obviously saying anything, but what was your thoughts, if you have seen it, with regards to John's comments?
Well, I think, look, there's always going to be disappointment when someone loses. I always say that it's not, I describe the action, Matt has his scorecard. Okay, the commentary will come on to in a sec because, of course, it's a quiet arena and, that may carry, yeah? But you've got to remember there's 3 judges that score the fight. So whatever Jon Pegg says about what he thinks, or I respect Jon Pegg as much as almost anyone in boxing. I think he's a fantastic man in boxing. I think he's an amazing trainer. There's going to be disappointment, bitterness when you lose a fight as close as that. I think what we can all agree on is it was a close fight. I'd have had no problem if the judges would have given it to Sam Eggington. I just felt, in my heart of hearts, I thought Ted Cheeseman probably just did enough. I certainly think he had the better of the first half. I thought Sam had the better of the second half. You can take it back a little bit to when Ted Cheeseman fought Scott Fitzgerald. A lot of people thought Ted Cheeseman won that fight. He was disgusted with it, right? Scott Fitzgerald was upset that we didn't give him, as he thought, more credit, even for some of those earlier rounds. But actually, if they're scored to Ted Cheeseman or whatever, we call what we see, okay? Matt's the expert. He's been in there. He's the one with the card. I'm the one that that calls the action. You get a sense, you get a feeling. My feeling all the way through that fight was that it was Ted had a good start, but I always felt Sam was going to come back. It was a very close fight, and there is never any bias ever when we pick up the mic. We've had this conversation before. Anthony Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz. Listen to the commentary back. Andy Ruiz became the heavyweight champion of the world in an unbelievable scenes, and that's amazing. And like, even though Joshua has been an ambassador for Sky, when we pick up the mic, it's about what happens in front of us. Make no mistake about that. Same again this Friday night. Terry Harper, Natasha Jonas, Anthony Fowler, Adam Harper. All of these fights. It's who we call the action. We're not the judges. We call the action. And I think with Matt, doing a card, that puts his neck on the line a bit. And I think that it's not our place really to say what's definite. And I don't think Matt at any point thought. I think he thought it was a great fight. I thought he felt that either of them could have won. I don't think he'd have any problem if you call him up now. He'd have no problem with either of them getting the verdict. He just felt Ted just did a bit more. I felt Ted probably just got the nod. I can understand how other people think Sam Eggington did. It's a subjective sport. People are always going to see different things. and especially if there's no crowd now as well, it's like, it's very raw, it's very open, and, and look, the fact that that's another issue, the fact that the fighters and maybe the judges can hear the commentary. Well, we're looking into that. It's not easy. We're 10 meters back. We're adhering to the regulations, because otherwise, obviously, there'd be shields if we were close to ringside. But I will put this out there, that in the Manchester Arena or in the O2 or in any of the arenas that we go to, when there's undercard fights that happen at 5 o'clock at night and there's 30, 40 people in there, and you and I have been there with, with the boards and one or two fans, maybe even almost before doors are open, the fighters can hear the commentary. And we're on the ring apron there. Okay, so it's going to happen at some point, unless you want to sort of lock us in, studios in booths miles away. To give the best commentary, we've got to be there. We've got to be feeling it. We've got to be right in there with them. And, when you're on the ring apron, that is where you are. That is where you feel it. That's where you hear the corners. That's where you hear the little intricacies, I think, in a fight. That's where you can see the feet move. When we're 10 meters back, it's tough. It's a tough challenge. Matt's 2 meters away from me. This is a communication. It's a relationship, a commentary, and that's tough. But you've got to adapt. That's what we've been told to do, and that's what we'll do. And we'll look at ways of maybe dimming the sound to carry to ringside. We'll look at that, because obviously, the three judges, are there to do their job. Could they wear the cans that the WBC like them to wear? I don't think that. They're all professional. They've all got their job to do. The fighters have got their job to do to win a fight. The trainers have got their job to do to train them and adapt in the ebbs and flows. And the judges score the fight. We are the commentators. We are adding to the experience. We are calling the action, and Matt is obviously, the guy that's been in there, or whoever it's in that seat, whether it's a Carl Froch or a Matt Macklin or whoever, whether Jamie, Dave, and a lot of these trainers have done it before, Joe Gallagher's and all that, and there's plenty of them that have experienced commentary, and you're next on the line a bit, and that's the way it is. So I understand, and I'll always respect people like Jon Pegg or whoever, whichever trainer or fighter who's unhappy. And Scott Fitzgerald, picked up with me at times. We have a back and forth. I don't mind that at all. I can understand that. We're not saying we're right. We're just calling the action. It's up, fans at home will think differently. They'll think differently to the way we're seeing it. They'll think differently to the way Jon Pegg's seeing it. They'll think differently to the way Tony Sims is seeing it. But Ted Cheeseman won the fight. There's 3 judges there for a reason. And those 3 judges make the decision. I don't think for 1 minute, and I'm sure Robert Smith would totally agree with me, that they were in any way affected by any commentary that they heard. They've got a job to do, and they do that. We've got our job to do, and John and Sam have got their job to do. And in my opinion, they had a terrific fight on Saturday night. They didn't get the decision. They lost. They come again. They rebuild. They come again.
Also, just to move away from that one, then, Adam, and on to another fight, which is another brilliant fight on the card, Tennyson and Gwynn. A brilliant win for James Tennyson, and Gavin Gwynn showing just how hard and tough as nails as what he is. But what did you make of their fight? And obviously, Eddie saying afterwards they'd love to make the Tennyson-Linares fight.
Oh, that's a great fight, isn't it? Tennyson and Linares. I'd also like to see Tennyson and Joe Cordina, of course. But what weight that will be, because Joe's gone down and James has gone up. I thought James Tennyson's performance was great on Saturday night. He obviously punches hard at lightweight. There was always the risk, because Gavin Gwynn was just soaking it up, that maybe he could withstand it and get into the second half of the fight. And there was the possible, always the punches that tell me that the big punches tell me that they can punch themselves out at times. They put so much energy into it, and you worry that maybe that was going to happen. But it suddenly just came, didn't it? That Gwynn probably stood in front of him a bit too much, and it was maybe the sustained attacks, and one did get through very clean, and suddenly he couldn't take it anymore. And I think it was all over in a flash, really. But you've got to credit Tennyson for the way he just goes about his business. He's so exciting to watch. He's had his ups and downs as well, and he's got off the floor before. He's gone out. He had a painful lesson at the hands of Tevin Farmer at that level. But you know what? He's very exciting. Maybe he can still win a world title against the right opponent. He's won European, he's won Commonwealth, he's won British. There's some great fights out there for him. Gavin Gwynn will come again. That's 2 good performances he's put in losing battles in different ways. You know, there's nothing wrong with his heart, his grit, his desire, his determination, his spirit, and also his skill set too. And you know, maybe they just, by trying to get to that second half of the fight, which I'm sure was always the plan, and trying to stop Tennyson late on, maybe they just, you know, they didn't do quite enough. On the, you know, on the moving side, maybe if they'd moved around a little bit more, maybe just saved a bit more energy, just stood in front of him maybe a tad too much. But I thought it was a great performance from Gwynn. I thought it was an amazing performance from Tennyson, and one of the great fights, wasn't it? It was a shame it was almost, in a way, it was taken from us. It was stopped where it was, because I think if it had gone 10, 11, 12 rounds, we'd have been talking about that as one of the fights of recent times.
What are your thoughts, obviously, if we was to see James Tennyson and Jorge Linares?
Yeah, I think it's a cracking fight, isn't it? I mean, you know, Jorge Linares has been a, you know, modern legend. He's been a great fighter, hasn't he? You know, the battles he's had over the years, the fights he's had with Crawler, Great, Campbell, and I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that fight. I think it would be, because he's, you know, he's a classic box fighter, Jorge Linares, and, you know, Tennyson will bring the heat to him. I think that's a terrific matchup. Yeah, I really would like that to happen.
Just to come off of that card, Adam, and to move forwards and on to this coming week, obviously we have that headline fight between Terry Harper and Tyson-Jones. You mentioned earlier the first all-female British world title fight. What should we expect from the pair of them on Friday?
I think we expect an absolute cracker, a really good fight, and a high skill level fight as well. You know, Natasha Jonas was a wonderful amateur. I was privileged enough to see her at the Olympics in her fight with Katie Taylor, which was one of the greatest atmospheres I've ever experienced anywhere. It was phenomenal. You know, Natasha's, you know, a great fighter. She's a wonderful woman. She's a mom. She's a terrific, you know, role model and a fantastic sort of advocate for Liverpool boxing. I think the world of her, and you know, she's done some terrific. You know, sister plays football for Man City in England. I mean, she's been brilliant, Natasha Jonas, and you know, she had that bad defeat to Vivian Obanov, but she's come back, and you know, she thoroughly deserves her opportunity. It's come up probably the right weight for her, so I think she'll be very dangerous. But Terry Harper's on a roll. She's got momentum. She's fresh. She's 23. You know, she looks better and better each and every fight. She's got this incredible bond with Steffi Bull, and you know, who's got her back to, you know, to, I mean, she was a great young fighter, and then sort of went away for a bit, and he's managed to sort of tempt her back. And in the last sort of 3 years or so, I mean, look at her. She's gone from no one knowing about her small hall to, you know, she took her opportunity on live TV on a Kell Brook night, didn't she? And from then she's just gone on, and she's been brilliant, you know, winning the world title. You know, she's a terrific role model herself. And, you know, it's a fantastic story. Both of them have got great stories, backstories. Both of them can really fight. I think, you know, Natasha's rightfully the underdog, but you know, Tasha's dangerous, and they'll really believe, her and Joe, that they can pull off the big win, and she can be crowned a world champion. You know, even at this stage for her, it's been a bit of a stop-start career for Tasha. Obviously, she turned fairly late. Terry's young and got it all in front of her, but it's her biggest test, and it's an all-British affair, and there's a bit of needle, and it's great. You know, let's get it on. I can't wait.
Moving away from that one and onto the cruiserweight division. Obviously, the cruiserweight division domestically is certainly stacked with plenty of talent. But this coming Friday, we'll see Chris Billum-Smith and Nathan Fawley. Chris will be the favourite heading in, but Nathan, obviously, I did an interview with him a couple of days ago, and he's certainly very up for it, very confident. And he's also been getting some rounds in with Enzo Macronelli as well. What should you expect from that one, Adam?
I've always loved the cruiserweight division. You know, the days of Carl Thompson, of course, my great friend Johnny Nelson. I've always loved it as a division, and Evander Holyfield before he moved to heavyweight. It's always been, you know, seen as that they're not heavyweight, they're not light heavyweight, but I think the cruiserweight, certainly domestically, is absolutely fantastic at the moment. You know, you look at a Coley, who's probably sort of a little bit of a level above, but you've got, you know, Riakporhe, and you've got obviously Billum-Smith and Thorley. You've got it's just a fantastic division. You know, you've got Jordan Thompson, who I really like. I think he's a very exciting, almost secret at the moment, but I think he's gonna be right out there. You've got Massey, you know, you've got Chamberlain. It's great. It's a fantastically packed division. I think they'll all fight each other, and it's great that we've got two on Friday night doing just that. Nathan is a very compact fighter. He's a very confident guy. He's kept it sort of quiet. You know, he's been a light heavyweight he's filling into cruiserweight. Probably he's not going to be nearly as big as Billum Smith, but he's got a lot of amateur pedigree. As you say, he was bronze medalist, wasn't he, in the Commonwealths? He's got the sparring with Enzo Macronelli that I know that's been really good. He's got Gary Lockett in his corner. And he's got nothing to lose. Gary's a very honest guy. They know that they're the underdog here. They rate Billum Smith. They know Billum Smith's got that maybe extra experience and he's got a bit of size on him. But I think they're pretty confident that if he can box as well as they've seen him and sustain it for the 12 rounds, there could be a new Commonwealth champion. Billum Smith is very solid. He's improving. He's been sparring as well out in Latvia with Breedis. So, he's very excited and he's got a great stable there with Shane McGuigan and the guys. And, he's very confident himself. They both speak well. They're both great professionals. I think it's a really good match. I think you've got to favour Billum Smith probably going in to retain his title just on maybe that extra professional experience and maybe the weight as well. But, don't write off the upset too. I think that's another great fight, and Nathan and Gary will really fancy their chances. I mean, they look well. I'm telling you, both look well in the bubble. So bring that one on.
Another man who, I know we touched on Ted Cheeseman earlier on, a man who's had him in his sights for quite a while now, Anthony Fowler. He faces Adam Harper on Friday night. Do you think there's any risk at all that Anthony may be overlooking Adam at all because he knows but it seems to be that it's a lot closer now than what it certainly was 12 months ago?
I don't think he's going to overlook him. No, I think if you'd asked that question a year and a half ago, I think Anthony would have said himself he would have looked way past someone like Adam, because he just that amateur pedigree, the England captain, he just thinks that I think certainly he thought he was probably a world champion in the making, but now he realises he had the loss to Scott Fitzgerald. I think he was he fought with emotion, with anger, with huge confidence, and I think that was a lesson to him. And he's obviously he was with a great trainer in Dave Colwell. He's moved his own reasons to Shane McGuigan, another great trainer. Maybe he needed the move away. Maybe it's a little change. I don't know, but he just seems a bit more realistic. Maybe that's the right word. And he realizes that this guy who's going to be in front of him has got absolutely nothing to lose. I've had a long conversation with Adam. He's a great guy, from Tewkesbury. Not many people, maybe outside of the sort of hardcore trade, know much about him, but he's got a terrific story himself. He flew to Australia, took on Zarafa. He went on his own. He trained himself for 7 weeks. This guy has got incredible belief and incredible ambition, and he doesn't know where it's going to take him, but I tell you what, he's going to give Anthony Fowler a real fight, and he wanted this fight. He called Eddie up, he said, I want this fight, and he was desperate for it. So they've chosen each other. It's another very, very good encounter. Once again, a little bit like the Chris Billum Smith thing, you've got to go with the Anthony Fowler probably to get through this. And, he's got, huge fights ahead of him with Fitzgerald, with Cheeseman, with Eggington, with all these fighters. It's a great merry-go-round, that one, isn't it? That division, the super welters. But I think it's a real opportunity for Adam. I think he's, I don't know. It's funny, actually, in the bubble, we're doing all the interviews today, Andy, and I was talking to Kane Baker. I was talking to Adam Harper, and it's like, these guys, they love it so much. I mean, Adam's lost once, Kane's lost a number of times, but it doesn't take anything, they don't mind being the right side of the bill. They don't, I think Adam said he looked at the odds and it just was ludicrous. It was like, Fowler was this huge odds of, and he's like, hey, Buster Douglas proved people wrong. There's always upsets in boxing. They believe in themselves. It's fantastic to see. He said he's got no excuses. He's trained so hard down in Tewkesbury. He's one of only 2 professional fighters in Gloucestershire. It's not a hotbed. I've got so much respect for people like that. And if the machine's not on his A game, he's going to be in for a tough night because, he might lack a bit of power, Adam Harper. But I tell you what, if he can be, he'll be there fighting all the way through. So either Fowler's got to show the skill set that we hope he can, maybe under the first real camp he's had with Shane McGuigan, because you can't take what happened last time with the guy who came over slipping and sliding with the dodgy boots. This is a proper fight, and I think that this will be a real test for his mentality and how he goes about the business, Anthony Fowler. So it'll be really interesting to watch.
One thing that you said there, I just want to pick up on. You mentioned, fighters can lose, especially early on in their career, but there's still plenty for them to get out of the sport and they can come back from it. I
Look
think
at Sam Eggington. Look at Sam Eggington, right? Okay, we've talked earlier on about how unhappy Jon Pegg is. He should be so proud of his man. That guy has been. I mean, he's won everything. He was the British Young Boxer of the Year at the Writers' Club. That's esteemed company. British, Commonwealth, European champion. I mean, it's incredible what Sam's achieved, despite the fact that he's been willing to fight anybody at any time and has losses on his record. I love fighters like that. Michael Gomez lost a few early. What a fighter he was. Johnny Nelson lost the first 3 professional bouts. He froze against Carlos Salinas. He lost in a world title. He ended up, and we never give him enough credit, do we? He ended up reigning for 7.5 years as a world champion with 13 defenses of the cruiserweight crown. I mean, boxing's extraordinary. And I think I have, some people can have natural talent, okay? Joe Calzaghe had natural talent and worked so damn hard and got amazing results. Floyd Mayweather, natural talent, worked so incredibly hard, got amazing results. So it doesn't just mean if you've got natural talent, born given talent, that you're going to make it, because you need the dedication. You need both of those. There's plenty of fighters that have got immense dedication and some talent who do better than fighters with more talent but much less dedication. In fact, they can do much better. So I've got a lot of time. I've got a lot of respect for anyone that gets in the ring, as you know, Andy, whether they're 4-round, 6-round, championship level, elite fighter. Anyone that gets in that ring has got my respect. But you think of the guys, the Sam Eggington stories. That's why Barry Hearn loved the story with Sam, because it was almost unbelievable. He suddenly started beating everybody he was not expected to beat. And those are great stories, and you run with them, and suddenly you get a bit of momentum. And look at Terry Harper. Who would have thought she'd be in the position she is 18 months ago? Nobody, apart from her and Steffi Ball and close family. That is it. And look what she's done. So it just shows hard work, determination, talent fulfilled, maturity, understanding of the game, a little bit of luck. Look what can happen. So I think losses are pretty irrelevant, to be honest. Those protected records when it's 28-0 or 30-0, whatever, freaks really are unbeaten. Joe Calzaghe, I mean, he went his whole career unbeaten, although the Robin Reed fight was close. He went his whole career unbeaten because he was the best, because he was amazing. A 3-weight amateur champion, one of the greatest fighters Britain has ever produced. That is why he went unbeaten. Floyd Mayweather has gone unbeaten. Okay, Castillo pushed him close, 1 or 2 little, fights that people would have thought, oh, well, okay, he was a bit bigger. Floyd Mayweather, genuinely the greatest fighter that's laced them up since Sugar Ray Leonard, right? So you're looking at Floyd Mayweather over there, Joe Calzaghe over here, unbeaten. There's a reason for that. Even if one of them had been beaten, does it make them a bad fighter? No. Does it make them not an elite fighter? No. They just had a loss. Jim Watt always talked about that very early on. Losses, lose, learn from it. Learn from it. Matt Macklin lost to Andrew Facey. Stylistically, he wasn't right for him. He lost. He got beaten. What does it matter? Jamie Moore got beaten, came back. Macklin came back from the Moore fight. Look what he went on to do. Should have become a world champion out in Germany. I'm not just talking about Matt, I'm talking about all of them. Ricky Hatton lost to 2 of the great fighters of his generation. Does it make him he made him a great fighter. He was a great, great fighter, but he lost. He lost again at the end. Does that matter? No, not one little bit. Carl Froch lost. It doesn't matter. And I think that's a real lesson, to interview people like Kane today and to see that enthusiasm and that passion and dedication. And he says it, I'm a fan that's got a golden ticket. I'm a fan that's going to walk down the Matchroom steps into that arena on Friday night. I mean, he's pinching himself. He can't believe it. He's got these wonderful shoes that have been made up for him with Fight Camp and Sky Sports. He's living a dream. This is his world title fight. And I love fighters like that. And you know what? They will give it everything. They may not win, but they will give it everything. And this is how memories are made. Some of these guys are close to packing it in because they can't get fights or whatever. They need a bit of luck. They're badgering Eddie. They're badgering Frank, I'm sure. They're great. They're what makes this sport fantastic. So, yes, we all get excited about the ones that are going to win world titles or going to fight the big fights, but we should also think about the others and the grassroots. And that's where, going back to the Jon Pegg situation, and how much respect I have for someone like Jon. Putting the shows on at Villa Park, putting the little shows on, that are tough with the non-TV and all that. All those small hall promoters, Carl Greaves, so many of them, Errol Johnson, all these guys that have put on these shows and keep boxing going. It's fantastic, and it must be very, very difficult times for them with lockdown and very hard with grassroots. So, my respect is fully to them. And these guys, these fighters that just get on with it, knuckle down, take their opportunity, don't mind traveling to Australia on their own for 7 weeks, knowing that they'll probably lose. It's just extraordinary. It's an extraordinary sport, and it's just great that it's back. And we've got to, people are going to be subjective. People are always going to be debating about boxing. People are going to get angry. We love that. We love fans' interaction. And people are going to say, oh, you can hear the commentary, or you can't hear the commentary, or we can't hear the crowd, and we want this effects. And, oh, no, the crowd effects aren't right, and we want to hear the punches. Oh, no, we don't hear too much of that. We want to hear what the corners say, but the board say, no, you've got to wear the masks, and when we can't hear them. It's so difficult, Andy. You and I know how hard it is behind the scenes, right? To put a spectacle like Fight Camp on, it's immense amount of work, production work, operational work, abiding by all the rules and regs. And they've done it fantastically well. And I think we've got to enjoy these next few weeks, culminating in the big one, Whyte-Povetkin, Taylor Pursuit. Can you believe it? In the Garden. That's fantastic, to get a night of that caliber in Matcham Square Garden. But boxing's back. Frank's doing it with BT. It's great. Great to see Joe Joyce and all that the other night. And I tell you what, we're back too. It's great to have boxing back on Sky. We've all missed it. I said patience is a virtue. We've had that. We're back now. And for those who are out fighting, they're the ones that are out the blocks quickly. And they're all covering themselves in glory, Andy. It's a tough, tough business. So every one of them has got my respect.
Certainly a very, very passionate response there, Adam. But just to kind of what I was going to ask you was, we touched on fighters losing and coming back from those losses. I did an interview with Dave Caldwell a couple of days ago, and Dave said, when Jordan lost to Noko last year, he came back, but he doesn't understand why there's such kind of an insistence, or there's such a desire for people to remain with that O intact. When you look at the UFC, where some of their elite fighters will have numerous losses on their records, but people won't even bat an eyelid at it. Why do you think it's kind of different in boxing? Why do you think there is more of a desire for people to keep that zero? Why do you think it makes more of a difference in boxing in comparison to UFC?
Why do you think we use Dave Caldwell as a pundit and as a commentator? Because he's one of the most intelligent people in boxing. He's fought, he's been a manager, a trainer, everything. He knows. And he's lost a number of times as a fighter. Did that make him a bad fighter? No. Did that make his central area of fights with Terrace Gaskin that we always talk about still? No, they were good. At that level, doesn't matter. He's become an elite trainer. And I tell you what, he's right. He's absolutely right. We get carried away. We think they're the next coming. And we're all guilty of it. Us in the media, the fans, everyone's guilty of it. Jordan Gill, had a bit of a stop-start career at the Ingles, couldn't really get the right fights, suddenly gets on a roll. And we think, oh, he's the next coming. He's going to win everything. And then he gets beaten. And, there's often reasons, an illness or not quite his night or whatever. It doesn't really matter. He lost, okay? And the bubble burst slightly. Does it matter? Not at all, okay? It's about how you build back and how you come back. Honestly, going back to Matt Macklin, I talk about him a lot, but he's my colleague and friend. Matt Macklin, on the floor, carried out to hospital after the Jamie Moore fight, right? What a fight. One of the best British title fights you've ever seen, okay? Look at his career after that and what he went on to achieve, okay? So yes, there is too much pressure, much too much pressure on that zero. And I think, people like, Floyd Mayweather saying that, it's the O and he'd never be, maybe that does, people look up and think, oh God, I can't lose. But, most 98%, 99% of them will lose. Very few will go through unscathed. And if they don't lose, they'll deserve to lose at some point. It's about the whole journey. It's about the story. Anthony Joshua, great. Then he gets beaten by Andy Ruiz. And there's all the naysayers. Oh, we told you he was not that good. Well, he's just gone back and beaten Andy Ruiz in a rematch. Here we go again. Oh, Anthony Joshua's a two-time champion. And, but he won't be Tyson Fury because of the Andy Ruiz defeat. Well, who knows, right? It's a journey. And that's why because we can't predict, we all love to think we can predict, but no one ever really can. Everyone gets predictions wrong. That is why it's such a dramatic sport, especially at heavyweight, because anything can happen. But no, Jordan Gill boxed beautifully on Saturday night. You know, Reece Bellotti, I really fancied Reece Bellotti, gave him a really hard fight. I thought it was a nip and tuck on paper beforehand. But, you know, it was hats off. Jordan Gill, you know, probably didn't need the crowd. He was absolutely focused. That was a beautiful boxing display. And it was great. And he's back. Does that mean he's gone anywhere? No. Does that mean he's learnt from a defeat? Yeah. Does that mean he'll beat the guy that he's lost to before? Maybe. Who knows? Does it mean he may lose again? Yeah, it might mean he'll lose again. People would have seen weaknesses. Yeah, everyone was saying, is he weak to the body after what happened? Or was it maybe an illness beforehand? Who knows?
We'll try and pick that one back up there, Adam. Obviously, the signal just cut out for whatever reason. We was talking about kind of how much the O means in boxing. I can't actually remember where you got to, but you just want to kind of pick it back up. And we was touching on Jordan Gill and his comeback last week, and you know how well he boxed.
Yeah, he boxed brilliantly, and I think I was just saying that, you know, like, you learn from a defeat, and there might have been mitigating circumstances going into that fight with Jordan. I wasn't around actually for that fight night or the next gen that happened on, so I don't know. I wasn't around him beforehand. You know, there was talk that he was ill, maybe shouldn't have fought. But you learn lessons, and I just think the main point is, you know, a loss is not the end. 2 losses is not the end. You know, every individual and every ambition is different. People come into boxing for different reasons. People have expectations. Some people come in as top amateurs and think they're going to win world titles. We talked about Anthony Fowler earlier, and maybe, you know, they get a gut check early on, and they have to sort of just readjust. Doesn't mean they can't fulfill their ambitions, but it might mean they have to, you know, charter a different way, or maybe, you know, maybe think, okay, let's go for British or Commonwealth or European first, and then see how we go. And you know, sometimes, like, I remember, like, people like Clinton Woods and Jamie McDonnell and those sort of guys, they went the old-fashioned way, British, Commonwealth, European. Some people, you know, get protected for a long time. Some people get thrown in. There's all sorts of different circumstances. So I don't think it matters. And I think that, does it mean that Jordan Gill's not a really good fighter and someone we're really interested in just because he lost one fight? No, I think we all get carried away. We all want them to win everything almost, and we get very excited about that. But you know, it's difficult, isn't it? You look at someone like Joshua Buatsi, Josh Kelly, Conor Benn, all these prospects, and you know, Conor Benn very nearly lost, and they will all probably lose at some point in their careers, and maybe more than once, and you know, maybe sooner rather than later. We just don't know. You know, Josh Kelly had that draw. You know, Joshua Buatsi might not lose to world title level. Who knows? He looks a real hope, doesn't he? He's a terrific fighter, but he hasn't fought for a long time, and you know, he's had a bit of inactivity. So you just don't know. Every journey's different, and I think it's all about how dedicated they are. I think what we were saying earlier about talent and dedication. You know, if you're given the talent, you've got to have the dedication, and if you've got the dedication and maybe not quite so much the talent, that dedication can take you a long way. You may not win every time, but you know, I remember Chris Eubank. I mean, he was unbeaten in how long? So long, many years. And everyone was saying, "Oh, he shouldn't have won that one." And they got robbed for that one. And then eventually lost to Steve Collins in Mill Street. And then he lost again. And then he sort of lost quite a lot. He lost to Carl Thompson a couple of times at cruiserweight, but he became absolutely, you know, engaging and fabulous to watch sort of in his latter years, because he was so exciting, and because he lost and on he went, and it was a different sort of stage of his career. So yeah, look, I think if, you know, it doesn't matter at all. I think, you know, whatever you lose and you pick yourself up, and it's all about the learning experience, and not just within your fighting career, but within your life. You know, how you deal with that, and how you come to terms with it. You know, Ted Cheeseman said he's had trouble out the ring, personal issues, and then he had, you know, a really bad year. He's come back and he's got that nod on Saturday night, and in his life that might be just the sort of kickstart he really needs to, you know, to fulfill what he wants to do in his not just in his professional career, but in his life too. So yeah, who knows? I just think that they're all great getting in the ring, and they shouldn't be too down on themselves if they lose.
One thing which I wanted to ask about, and I forgot to earlier on when we was touching on the shows, and obviously this past week with Eglinton Cheeseman, some figures with regards to how many views, you know, were flying about, touching around the 200,000 as a peak. Do you have any kind of official figures you can throw at us, Adam? And if not, or if so, what do you expect through fight camp?
I mean, very solid figures is what we expect. I mean, that's the whole point. We want boxing is back. Boxing is back emphatically in a great way. And yeah, look, we're really happy with the promotion around it, with the fans, the viewers tuning in. I mean, I had a lot of people call me who don't really normally watch boxing, or they'll watch the big fights, and they certainly wouldn't normally have heard of someone like Sam Egginson or Ted Cheeseman, because they're sort of much more casual fans. But there was something about the event, the fight camp event, that caught their imagination. And the boxing in the back garden. Suddenly they look at it, they watch it, they see this incredible event. Now they want a bit more. So we'll hope that the figures, the viewing numbers will all continue to go well, or even increase. And yeah, we're very happy.
On the numbers front, do you have targets in mind?
No targets. I mean, we just want as many people to watch as possible, obviously. So that's the key. Eddie's always trying to drive more. We want more, of course. That's the nature of the game. But it's about what we deliver our customers. We try and deliver our customers the best. Such hardworking teams behind the scenes. Do so much, and they deliver, and we want to make the best shows. What I can tell you is that there is so much passion behind the scenes. Every single person that's connected to Sky and to Matchroom works extraordinarily hard to deliver as best a show, as experience, as build up as we can. And we all do it because we love it. And that's the truth. If Kane Baker's a fighter who's a fan, and he's just, happy to have the gloves on, and he's got the. Well, we are all as well. We're very lucky to be doing what we're doing. We never take anything for granted. We work extremely hard, and we all want to make sure that the customer, the consumer, gets value for money each and every time. That goes with me and the strategy with Eddie of trying to make these really good fights. And that was key for me. That fight camp, okay, it could look great, could look different, but the key is no crowds. You've got to have absolutely superb fights, no easy fights. And that was always the sort of mandate. And I think fighters, deserve that. We should bow down to them for the fact they're taking risks, that they're fighting harder fights probably than maybe they would have thought about at this stage of the year. But because of lockdown and the pandemic, and we're back, but there's been inactivity, they need to get on with things. And who knows what's going to happen, Andy? Look, we're talking boxing, which is great. Sports come back in a terrific way, from football to cricket to Formula One, golf. That's come back in a great way, but we haven't got crowds. We're going to have crowds at the Crucible, and then Boris has changed the stance on that. So we've got to listen to the government. We don't know when the crowds come back. We want them back tomorrow, Andy. Of course we do. It's not the same. Let's be honest. But we're trying our best to deliver what we can. We're trying to adapt. We're going to get things wrong, but we're going to do what we can. The most important thing is that boxing is back, and it's back with a bang. It's not just fireworks, it's quality fights. And who knows? I mean, what's going to happen in the months ahead? Is there going to be a second spike? Are we going to have, are we going to have crowds back? Will Andi Joshua be fighting in front of a full house in a few months' time? We don't know. So at the moment, it's step by step, steadily. It was patience coming back. It's a dangerous sport, boxing. It needs paramedics. It needs the best medical people at ringside, which is what the board always provide. They're the best in the world for that. You know what? They needed to be on the front line for a long time. So Robert correctly waited, and we brought boxing back at the right time. Frank went first, then Eddie. It's been brought back at the right moment. And if there's, need for the NHS on the front line again, then hey, off they go. We take a complete backward step. It's not important in the big scheme of things, but it is important to our business and our entertainment and our sport. So we're doing what we can. We're abiding by the rules. We're trying our best, and we're trying to deliver the best fights. Everybody is always going to have some complaint, whether you lose a fight, whether you want a better fight. Why is AJ Fury not happening tomorrow? Why did Witter Hatton never happen? Why did Brooke Carr never happen? That's what boxing is about. And social media and the subjectivity and the debate, it all adds to it. It all adds to the pot, doesn't it? I can't wait to get back around outside and see how the trainers are all getting on, the ones that have had their fighters move from different camps. But you know what? It's a business, and everybody gets on with it. We're all professional, and we're doing the best we can.
Just a couple of quick things I wanted to touch on, Adam, that we haven't had a chance to speak to over these past few weeks. Firstly, Dillian Whyte and Whyte-Tibbs, they've obviously gone their separate ways. Dillian getting ready for the Alexander Povetkin fight on August 22nd. How much of an impact do you think that will have on Dillian's preparations?
Yeah, it was a strange one, really, because Mark Tibbs seems to be have been a massive part of Dillian Whyte since, well, for a number of years now, for all these really big performances. I don't know what's gone on behind the scenes. I haven't really. I've touched base a couple of times with Dillian, but he's been out in Portugal, so I'm not quite sure. Maybe it was a case of Portugal and London. Maybe it was a case as simple as that it was difficult, and there's families and there's homes and whatever and lockdown. I don't know, or whether it was more that Dillian needed a slight change, or that Mark wanted a slight change. I don't know. I haven't really got involved. All I know is that they were a great partnership together. So it surprised me. I think Mark and Jimmy have, they're etched in fight history, aren't they? The two of them, they've been a wonderful sort of father and son team, and they've got so much knowledge. But it could be a number of things. It could be that Dillian wanted a slight change. It could have been circumstances. It could have been location. I don't know. But the decision's been made. It's not really one for me to get involved in. That's theirs, and they'll go forward as they do. And Mark will train other good fighters, and Dillian will return against Povetkin and onwards. And only he'll find out if he's made the right decision. But it's a big fight. It's before a big fight, and I mean they're all big fights, aren't they? He loves getting involved in the biggest heavyweight fights he can, apart from fighting for a world title, which is ludicrous. He's never fought for a world title. It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, yes, he lost the British belt to Anthony Joshua a moon ago, but I mean he's done everything that's been asked of him so far. Dillian, that's why the fans have sort of moved towards him. He's got this great following now because he takes them all on, whether it's a Lucas Brown who's unbeaten and a big puncher, or whether it's a Derek Chisora a couple of times, or whether it's a Joseph Parker and Oscar Rivas, now Povetkin. I mean, it's a long list, isn't it? And we're watching the story to see when on earth he's going to get that shot. But in the meantime, we just love watching Dillian Whyte because he's entertaining. He says what he believes. He's a great guy to be around. He's fantastic for the sport. So. Listen, I wish both of them well. Dillian in his big fight with a dangerous, very experienced guy in Alexander Povetkin, and of course I wish Mark Tibbs well because he's a terrific trainer and he'll no doubt find other stars along the way.
Well, final question, Adam. A fight which I'm sure you'll be looking forward to as much as many, which was ordered by the WBC between Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell. If that does go ahead, Adam, what do you make of it?
I thought when you were going to ask me that, I thought you were going to ask me about the Tyson-Roy Jones fight. So I'm happy. I'm happy talking about this one. Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell is a great fight. Luke Campbell, when he was, I mean, I don't know. I've followed Luke Campbell for a long time. Okay, he won an award at the British Boxing Writers, an amateur award many years ago. I think he was. Just a teenager. I mean, he's always been on the radar. He was a brilliant amateur. Of all of the Olympians that went into that really strong team in 2012, and as I told you before, I don't get many predictions right. I predicted Luke Campbell would win gold, and then when he won gold, I said he'd become a world champion. I haven't changed in that. I think that one or two things obviously haven't worked out for him at times, but he was close against Linares. He fought the best fight I think he's ever fought against Lomachenko, but Loma is not just elite level. Loma is on his own stratosphere. So I thought he did brilliantly that night. Obviously, he lost by a wide margin, but he boxed really well. I still believe Luke Campbell will become a world champion. Ryan Garcia is the hot shot over there. Everybody's talking about him. We've all seen him. He's a good looking, great fighter. Is he going to be the next De La Hoya? All of that stuff, but. It's a real big test for him against a man of Luke's caliber and experience, and it's a real test for Luke Campbell. I think it's a fantastic fight, and I wish it was tomorrow.
One fight which you brought up, and I asked you a question, Adam, which I'd completely forgotten about, but as you brought it up, obviously that might.
I don't really want to talk about it, Andy. I feel sad about it. It's a tricky one. Mike Tyson was magnetic, iconic. Everybody watched Mike Tyson. He was, I had the fortune to see him live at his peak. I remembered where I was when he lost to Buster Douglas. I was at university in America. I was actually at a party, and there were a load of American footballers around, and they were all drinking keg from a keg of beer and all that sort of stuff. And you look around and they'd heard the news, and there's a couple of the big fellas just in tears in the corner. I mean, you couldn't write it. Mike Tyson was this figure where, you know, he'd been beaten. It was like, you know, the world changed overnight, you know, and he, you know, incredible fighter. Teddy Atlas used to say he was a shooting star, brilliant, and then he was gone. Mike Tyson, you know, may not have had the success for a long time. You know, he had that great period, didn't he? But then, you know, the fall was as fascinating, and then he got it back again, and then he lost it again. And it was more the fact that he's never gone away. Mike Tyson is an incredible name in sport, in life. And of course, when you see him on Instagram, you know, thudding the pads almost like he used to, you know, even though he's 53 or something. I mean, you think, well, could he? And we all think that. You all think, could he? But we know boxing, and he knows deep down boxing, and he knows when he last fought, and the reflexes and the legs and all that sort of stuff. I don't like it. I think that I'm at least slightly more at ease with the fact that he's fighting somebody of his age, and it's an exhibition in Roy Jones. But I don't like it. I feel, you know, would I watch it? Would I go like that and watch it? Would we all go like that and watch it? Would we all want to find out what happened? Yes, probably. Should we all say it shouldn't happen? Yes, probably. Then you've got people saying, look, it's their right and they're fighters and they should decide what they want to do. Can I understand that? I understand that as fighters, fire is very difficult to totally extinguish. I understand that. I work with, you know, the Macklins, the Frotches, and, you know, suddenly they're looking good in the gym again and have a little sniff around ring. I think, oh, I can beat it. You know, it's always going to be in them. Spencer Oliver one of my closest friends and colleagues in boxing, tells me regular basis he'd do it all again and twice on Sundays. You know, even now, you know, Darren Barker's out there and he's shadow boxing in the bubble. I mean, they that's why we love them, isn't it? We don't want them to get hurt. Mike Tyson had a bit of a sad end to his career. Roy Jones certainly went on too long. He was phenomenal, Roy Jones. He was one of the great fighters, you know, and then he went on too long and he got knocked out, you know, in the game. And it was sad to see. And suddenly it's almost like that's been forgotten. And suddenly you've got the two names back in a ring. So it's a difficult one. It's not one to get excited about, I don't think. I think it's one to hope that they come out safely. It's a bit like the Nigel Benn thing when he was coming back. And Connor's like, oh, my dad's coming back. And I'm like, oh, I don't want Nigel to come back. I love Nigel Benn. And, you know, you want to remember him as he was, but they want to fight. You know, they're a bit crazy, aren't they? And that's why we love them. But listen, health at the moment in this world, with what's been happening, health and safety, the most important thing. If they fight, which they're going to, they come out safe and healthy and go back to their families. I've heard that Mike Tyson's kids don't want him to fight. That should be a telltale sign. But if they do it, whether it's ego, power, money, love of the game, boredom, whatever it is, let them come out safe, because they're both iconic figures. And I think it's sad.
Adam's well put there, and it's obviously been a brilliant catch-up here between ourselves, and to touch on boxing, something we haven't been able to do for a while now. Obviously, I hope yourself and the rest of this week goes to plan and everybody stays safe. Thank you for your time as always, Adam, and thanks for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, Andy. Take care. Speak soon, mate.